Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Titus Andronicus, and we get to hear from Titus Andronicus again today in Act 3, Scene 1. So things are not going well for him. He killed one of his own sons when his other sons tried to protect his daughter from having to marry Saturnius, and she ran off and married Basanius. But then Basanius was murdered by Chiron and Demetrius. Sorry, this is going to get gross. Basanius was murdered by Chiron and Demetrius, who threw his body in a pit, and then they made Marcius and Quintus fall into the same pit and framed them using a letter that Aaron had written and a bag of gold that Aaron had buried to make it look like Marcius and Quintus had killed Basanius. So the two of them have been sentenced to death. And in the meantime, while they're being taken back to Rome from this hunting trip so that they can be executed, Chiron and Demetrius took Lavinia, raped her a lot, cut off her hands, cut out her tongue. Marcus Andronicus found her and is devastated by it and is bringing her back to see Titus. So in Act 3, Scene 1, we started out with Titus pleading for the lives of his sons as the tribunes are marching his sons past. And they just walked right past him. He's like, I never cried for my other 22 sons who died, but I'm crying for these ones because they're innocent. Please spare their lives, spare their lives. But the whole procession leaves, and so he's just pleading by himself to nothingness until his son Lucius comes in with his sword drawn. And at the end of yesterday's monologue, Lucius was like, there's nobody listening to you. And Titus is like, yeah, I know, but I'm going to complain anyway. And he's like, no, but literally, there's nobody here to hear you. And Titus says, why, 'tis no matter, man. If they did hear, they would not mark me. Or if they did hear, they would not pity me. Therefore I tell my sorrows bootless to the stones, who though they cannot answer my distress, yet in some sort they are better than the tribunes, for that they will not intercept my tale. When I do weep, they humbly at my feet receive my tears, and seem to weep with me. And were they but attired in grave weeds, Rome could afford no tribune like to these. A stone is soft as wax, tribunes more hard than stones. A stone is silent and defendeth not, and tribunes with their tongues doom men to death. But wherefore standst thou with thy weapon drawn? So he's gotten to sort of the pity party part of the grief. He was in the rage and the bargaining in the last monologue. In this one, he's almost to the acceptance. He's definitely in like a depression part, and he's saying, I have to plead, and maybe it's better that I plead to the stones because at least they listen, and when I cry on them, they're wet, so it looks like they're crying with me. So I'm okay with pleading my case to the stones because they at least seem to listen. But then he looks up and he sees Lucius with his sword drawn. He's like, why is your sword drawn? And Lucius is like, well, I'm coming to try to defend my brothers from being executed, and because I defended my brothers from being executed, I've been banished. And Titus is like, actually, that might be a good thing because Rome is falling apart and going terrible places that it shouldn't go, and there's the whole rest of the world, so maybe it's a good thing that you're not allowed to be in Rome anymore. There will be happier things for you elsewhere. At which point, Marcus and Lavinia walk in, and Marcus says to Titus, he's like, brace yourself. And Titus is like, is this gonna be bad? And then he presents Lavinia. And Titus is gonna have a monologue, sort of about his daughter tomorrow that we will get to experience. So come on back tomorrow for that. I'll see you then. Mwah.